I want to live stream. To be more specific, from the part 1 of this series, the actual goal is that I want to stream a Kingdom Hearts marathon for charity, but that's just the details. If you want to see why I want to stream what I plan on streaming, you should check out that first video. The real takeaway from that video were the goals that I set to be complete before this video was released. That I, number 1, needed to have done a stream that was over an hour long, and number 2, also needed to have found music for the stream, specifically 3 hours of it. Along with those goals was the plan that I had created, throwing together all the incidental knowledge I had accrued and turning it into what I think I needed to do to reach my end goal of streaming, and eventually streaming a Kingdom Hearts marathon. For the first time in W.A.N.T New Things history, I can happily say that both of these goals were achieved. I didn't set the bar particularly high, mind you, but I still think that it's important to celebrate even the smallest of successes. Alright, celebration done, it's time to outline the entire journey from the end of the last video to the end of the first stream. Let's go. Referring to the plan, the very first thing I did was actually fooling around on OBS. But what is OBS? Before this journey, I had only heard of it, normally only so far as a streamer I'm watching saying, "Give me a second to configure my OBS." It wasn't something that I'd actually used before. OBS is two things. First, it's an acronym, Open Broadcaster Software, but it's also software that you can use to configure your stream, called OBS Studio. Now, I may just be an old fuddy-duddy, but I'm super impressed by what free resources are available online. DaVinci Resolve, my video editing software, was one thing, but OBS Studio is a really neat package of things that make streaming super easy and configurable. You're able to prepare assets, choose sources, all manner of things, be able to toggle them on and off, resize, move, and filter them, all on the go, and all while streaming live. So I did just that. First I got my potato cam going. It's a filter and snap camera that thankfully comes with toggleable green screen background. I chose the snap camera video source, imported it, cropped some of the sides and resized it so I was in the corner, a classic streamer spot. I then realized that my lighting made me look like some sort of demon potato. I had noticed this as a problem before when making that first thumbnail. I actually had to hold up my phone light in order to take that screenshot without my eyes being a dark, shadowy mess, but that solution wasn't going to work when streaming, so I filed that away in my brain as a need to deal with this problem. I also messed around with different windows, sharing the output of my graphics tablet, the window that I would use for Duolingo, and testing game inputs with the classic Bloons Tower Defense 6. Aside from a quick Google on how to key out the green screen, which was also super easy, it's just a quick venture into filters, everything was very easy and intuitive. OBS also gives you the ability to record yourself, which to me, someone that grew up in the unregistered hypercam era, was mind-blowing. You can just record your screen, just a specific window, even several specific windows at the same time, in high quality. It really is the future. I mean, this tech and stuff has been available for a long time now, but still, looking back in the late 2000s when trying to record your screen was terribly difficult, I definitely had a kids these days don't realize how hard recording your screen used to be moment. After experimenting some more, I called it quits, satisfied I knew my way around OBS Studio enough that it wouldn't be an issue. Then, shortly after, I just happened to be at the shops, browsing Kmart like anyone waiting for his fiance's nails to be done would do, and came across a ring light that was only like $10 dues. I purchased it because even if it weren't any good, it's only $10. But to my surprise, it lit up my face enough that my potato cam didn't look like a potato hellspawn, so yeah, that was good. I then did my platform comparison, and at the same time registered my accounts to both platforms. And I guess that name reveal teased the very first W.A.N.T New Things video is here. My gaming name that I generally use across most games is Blobbit McNuggets. Now, there's a story behind that name, not one we have time for here, but Blobbit is generally what I go by. Even for Twitch, the whole Blobbit McNuggets moniker is a bit too long, so it's just Blobbit McNugget. So yes, while I did register a W.A.N.T New Things account on Twitch, I decided to go with my Blobbit McNugget account. I also registered a Blobbit McNuggets YouTube channel, as well as a W.A.N.T New Things Streams account. So across both platforms there are now W.A.N.T New Things and Blobbit McNugget accounts. This also means I can stop hiding the name I use on Duolingo, which is also Blobbit. Also, in reference to my plan of minimizing risk of identity reveal, I updated various account names to also be Blobbit McNugget. Now, if I get any bigger, which small chance of that, there is a potential issue of trademark being a problem. McNugget is trademarked by McDonald's, obviously. When I first decided to go with Blobbit McNuggets as a moniker, I didn't really think that I would do anything in particular with it, but if I do get bigger, well, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But at least I can safely shorten the name to Blobbit. And getting into assets, I stuck with only using Blobbit for those as well. I did end up deciding to just do Twitch in the end. YouTube is good and all, but when it comes to streaming, the interface and tools that are available and integrated with Twitch are just better in general. Categories and tags for streaming are easier to find, and it doesn't rely on the size of your audience if you decide to stream a niche category like Duolingo. So at least until further notice, Twitch is where I'll stay, but I'll post the occasional VOD on YouTube, such as the VOD for my very first stream, which should be documented for historical sake. The next several things happened during my next venture into OBS Studio. First, I had to look at the music situation, and I ended up going with something that was another blast from the past for me, OC Remix. OC Remix, or Overclock Remix, for those who don't know, is a video game music community filled with talented creators and musicians who create covers of video game music. I remember downloading a bunch of the albums back in the day and really loving them, especially many of the Final Fantasy arrangement albums. Now, there's a handy-dandy thing called Rainwave, which has an OC Remix radio station, and a widget that can be integrated into OBS to show the song title, the game that it's from, and the creator of the track. Now, forget 3 hours of streaming, I now had, theoretically, the entire OC Remix library at my disposal, albeit highly randomized. That means I can be listening to a chill Jazz Mario medley one moment, and then a black metal Mega Man cover the next, but that's just how it goes. I could just download the tracks and albums that I like, but then I'd have to figure out a way to give credit to the artists, and I can't really be bothered to do that, at least for the moment. With my music widget in mind, I then decided to look at streaming layouts. I started sketching out a very basic one that I could put as an overlay, first having a space for my potato self, the music widget, and Twitch chat, as well as whatever I was streaming. Also a space for me to put whatever I was doing. I based it off the streamer DougDoug's layout, but when I did a bit more looking at other streamers, I noticed that it also matched the HoloLive member Gura's layout, which, once I have a proper digital avatar created, is more or less an end goal. Not to look like her, but I mean to have a digital avatar. I looked at other creators too for comparison, but to my surprise, many of them didn't actually implement a chat, or just had a tiny one. Which I get, you don't want the chat covering the action, but it was definitely something I wanted for my streams. Speaking of which, how was I supposed to get the chat on screen? I saw a video where you could get a pop-out chat from Twitch directly, but that looked like arse, which led me to my next destination, Streamlabs. Streamlabs uses OBS, but also has a bunch of other features which are super useful. What was also very useful was that moving from OBS Studio to Streamlabs meant that I could import my settings from one to the other, so I didn't have to reconfigure anything I had already done, thank goodness. Streamlabs can hook into your Twitch and also YouTube account, and has a bunch of widgets that can be implemented that pull from that data, mainly for my purposes, Twitch chat. So now I had Twitch chat on screen, except it didn't look like how I wanted it to. I guess there's further configuration I could do for it, but I couldn't figure it out, so I just went with it's good enough for now approach and implemented it as is. Now that I had a streaming setup ready, I had to think about what to stream. So I thought, much like how this channel is all about the process of achieving goals, it would be fitting for the first stream to be about the same thing. So I decided my first stream would be all about drawing assets to be used for streaming. I had several in mind, mainly something for this stream will start soon and we'll be right back, as well as making the layouts for the streams less bad looking. The second stream I wanted to try was an actual game. Thankfully, I had just the game in mind, Neo, The World Ends With You, sequel to The World Ends With You. I'm a big fan of the original DS game and I was keen to play the sequel, and by chance I had purchased myself a copy a month back that I still hadn't opened. Problem was, it was for PS4. Yes, I know a PC port is available, I just like having hard copies, and PC hard copies are hard to come by. I did, however, have a solution. While I do not yet have a capture card, the PlayStation 4 can do something else, remote play on PC. So my plan was remote play the PS4 on the PC so it can be captured on OBS. I had configured and tested remote play during my second outing into OBS Studio, so I had it all configured. It was all relatively easily, thankfully. I just download the remote play program for Windows, set it up to connect to your PS4, bada bing, bada boom, you can play PS4 on your PC. I did have a little bit of struggle setting up the controller though. You needed a data transfer USB mini cable, and I didn't know which ones were which, so I was testing several cables that were fully capable of charging the controller, but none of which actually let me connect and use it with remote play. I did eventually find one though, so that problem got resolved as well. The day before I decided I was going to stream, I ended up deciding the initial layout of my streams and came up with 3 distinct scenes. Scenes in this case are collections of different assets and layouts that you can switch between. First one is for drawing and Duolingo, the second for streaming for PS4, and the final one for streaming PC games. While I was doing this, our cat, who I guess also gets a sick name reveal, Nugget, was having a case of the zoomies, so I decided I would pre-make one asset, a short animation of Nugget zooming around the stream. This took me down a whole other rabbit hole, better covered in my next Learn to Draw video, ending up with me installing the latest version of Critter so I could do a motion tween. In the end, the animation looked like this. Designed to zoom around the screen if Nugget ever gets rowdy while I'm streaming. I had to re-render it though. I needed to add a green screen to key out the generated video, but once that was done, my first streaming asset was also ready to go. After this, I did a quick run-through, recording myself as though I was streaming, making sure everything turned out alright. And aside from a few notes to myself, mainly around using Duolingo on the web browser, everything seemed to check out. Finally, the day came, and I did a quick run-through of both Streamlabs and Twitch, adding the Streamlabs chatbot, CloudBot, to the chat to work as a filter for naughty words. After all, I want my streams to be relatively family-friendly. Also, in case I needed any of its other functions in the future. I looked through the Twitch items attached to my profile and realized that there were other assets that needed creating, a profile picture and channel banner, so I added those onto the list. Once I was sure everything was checked out, I started streaming. It was an uneventfully eventful stream. The Twitch stats said that there were 4 unique viewers, so excluding the We Attempt New Things account I was using to verify the stream at the beginning, there were either 2 or 3 others that tuned in. Unsure which, because I wasn't sure if my own account counts as a viewer. It said that there was one chatter, which was myself sending messages to test the chat on live, so it could fall either way. The stream lasted 3 hours, and 3 assets were made: the We'll Be Right Back, the channel logo, and the channel banner. Main learnings: keeping the mic near the face. It's a bit harder when I'm moving up and down to draw on the tablet. Don't mumble. I have the tendency to mumble to myself when drawing sometimes. Even if it's just random thoughts, I should clearly articulate them for the potential audience. And get a tablet stand. My neck started to hurt by the end of it. I need to angle and raise the tablet to reduce this. I nearly got through the whole stream without swearing, but Nugget decided to invade my table mid-stream and I playfully called him a little sugar honey iced tea by reflex. I'm not much of a swearer by nature, so I didn't expect to have to catch myself too much during the stream, but I'm still a little annoyed that it slipped through. I'll upload the whole stream to the Blobbit McNugget account, which I'll link below along with many of the resources I used, so anyone curious can watch. I'm not particularly interesting, at least I don't think so, but I can only get better from here. So, first stream done, what next? Easy answer, stream more. Now, I said in a previous video, April, it's the start of the month while I write this, is a bit of a wild one for me, but I'm going to try and figure out how often I can stream. I know I'm away for Easter as well, but I've got some ideas. Mainly streaming Chinese and drawing practice, and also starting the blind playthrough of Neo The World Ends With You. So, goal for the next video: stream for a minimum of 3 hours every week until the next video. A modest goal, but it's important to be consistent and build the habit. It should help me keep doing my drawing more regularly as well, so it'll help my other project goals. I hope anyone interested in starting streaming found this record of my journey useful. As I said before, I'll link my resources down in the description for you to look at. Let me know in the comments if there are any other useful resources. And please, oh please, leave me a comment about how to configure chat display. I kind of want the messages in individual blobs or something, and I know I can sort of configure it via Streamlabs, but I couldn't get it looking the way I wanted. I know there's a way. But either way, I would appreciate the help, and if you want to join me as I stream my various goals, catch me on twitch.tv/blobbertmcnugget. I'd love to see you there because, after all, it's we attempt new things, not I attempt new things. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a fruitful day.